morning, everyone, and welcome to Midtown Conversations here on Midtown Radio KW. My name is Allison Dyjach, and I am thrilled to be joined by local indie rock band Adult Recreation Center today. The band formed in 2016, and after several years of playing open mics, weddings, and backyard shows, they released their debut full-length album, Artifacts, in May. And I'm so excited to chat with the band today.
These bars close, sunsets on streets, row on road. Just relax, but don't let go. Don't forget how this time flows. So I keep hanging on to glasses and to hope, and I keep hanging on and try to help you go. The world keeps spinning.
Welcome, everyone, to Midtown Radio.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Thank you. Hello.
Thank you very much.
Hi.
Thanks so much for being here with me, and I have the whole band here today, which is super exciting. So why don't you guys introduce yourself and tell us what you play in the band?
Hi, I'm Rocker Brosi. I'm the lead singer in the band.
Hi, I'm Sandy Wright. I'm the guitarist in the band.
I'm Graham McMath. I also play guitar.
I'm Alex Cuttlewasher. I play the bass.
Nice. And I'm Dan, and I play the drums. Some alliteration there. Yeah.
Dan on the drums. I like it. So before we get into the new album, let's talk a little bit about the band. So you guys have been playing music together for about 5 years. How did you meet and become Adult Recreation Center?
Rod and I have known each other about half our lives at this point, and we've played and stuff since we were like kids. Sometimes in school and sometimes just on our own, and we like put out a really bad folk album in high school, and then we've known Dan and Alex, went to high school with them, and we like sort of, when we were all in sort of in our early 20s, we went, it'd be really fun to play together and actually, you know, make some music and do something cool. So we started jamming in Alex's basement, much to the chagrin of his family, and then we started playing. We played a couple weddings, and in the second wedding, I was unavailable, so we got Graham on, and then we played a lot.
Yeah, I played the wedding with the guys, and then I just sort of stayed.
That's awesome.
He just didn't leave, actually. He just sort of just wouldn't go.
Just started showing up to practices in the basement.
We're like, okay, this is it. This is the new normal. Okay, welcome, Graham. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So Graham and I sing in a community choir together called Age of Majority Singers. And so that's how like the connection formed. And just I you know, listening to him talk about guitar, I was like, this guy must know how to play guitar really, really well. And I was, you know, and Sandy was away, and this wedding came up, and I was like, okay, we'd love to just come play with us, and who knows what it'll be like. If it's good, it's good. If it's just for fun, it's just for fun. And then, yeah, things just clicked and worked out. And when Sandy came back, it was, I don't know, it just felt right to have everybody together and playing together.
That's awesome. Wow, great to hear. Now, was there like a moment you remember, or that final push when you guys decided you wanted to, you know, record and release music and kind of make a go for it in the music scene a little more?
I don't know if there was an exact moment. I feel like I've been harping on it forever to like all of the guys here. I was like, we've been playing together for a very long time in different iterations, as they said. And so, yeah, there was just years where we would do stuff and we'd like kind of record. We'd like do some very like low key recordings. Like I remember at Laurier, when Sandy was at Laurier, or in like garages and whatnot. And then we try and mix it and it would sound horrible. And so then we'd be like, okay, we can't release this. But then eventually I think like for all the negatives that this pandemic kind of brought on, it also gave us a lot of time, a lot of time to sit around and be like, well, what do we want to do? And we're like, well, we might as well use this opportunity, since we are playing together and writing new stuff and being kind of inspired by the circumstance, to actually record and put out a project. And so I think that was kind of the weird set of circumstances that came together.
Yeah, Dan undermines how much he like bugged us about it to get us to that point, but yeah, no, that's exactly it.
You can only call yourself a band so long if you don't put out music, you know? Like, other than that, we're friends.
Amazing. And I mean, it led to this album you guys just released in May, Artifacts. And I want to say a big, big congratulations on the album release. It's so fantastic. I've listened to it many, many times.
Thanks.
And I really love the balance that you created between kind of those feelings of nostalgia, like I'm getting those early mid 2000 kind of rock vibes, but then also the arrangements, the instrumentation, they're really creative, and I feel like it kind of gives it that current sound as well. So it's a really great balance.
Thank you so much. That's really nice of you to say. That was one thing that I think, at least I definitely got into the thing, is that's the music like all of us kind of grew up on. So it kind of, the early 2000 stuff definitely bled into it. And then Graham and everyone is so good at like coming up with like parts to like make it interesting and dynamic. And it was really cool to see that all like laid out in an actual like track and be like, oh, that's what we sound like, not just the echoes off my garage.
For sure. Yeah. Where did you guys record the album?
We recorded the album at Canadian Daydream, which are in sort of South Kitchener. It's sort of a small studio with a couple guys, and we were recommended them by a guy we knew who sort of mixed our first two singles, Hanging On and Without You. And then we went in, and they were really nice, and they were really open, and they were able to sort of facilitate a really effective and also safe recording environment, because we were sort of still trying to be cautious as we could.
For sure.
And they're really awesome guys to work with. We basically spent more time with them than basically anybody else outside the band, I think, for a long time, getting back and forth with Mitch McCloy and Steph Tamala from Canadian Daydream.
Cool. That's awesome. I love that it was a local place too. It's always nice to support a local organization and not have to go to Toronto or something like that to record. So yeah, the quality is really, really amazing. Everything is super crisp. I love it.
Yeah.
Now this album, I mean, if listeners were to take a listen through it, it's very clear that it's about going through a difficult breakup, which can mean a lot of really personal songs, personal lyrics. I'm curious about what was your songwriting process like for this album? I mean, there's a ton of really intricate instrumental parts that all just like fit together so perfectly. So how do you go about putting all these parts together as a band?
I think we approached all of the different songs sort of in different methods, where a few of the songs, Sandy came to us and said, hey, here's this song. And then we learned it and tweak it from there. Some we just sort of developed on the fly. I know one of the songs on the record, Dear Sam, we had been playing as a different version for a while and decided we wanted to switch it up. So then we came up with sort of this country folk vibe at the beginning, and then kind of went into how we normally played it. So I think really it was a collection of all of us, and bringing our own kind of songwriting techniques to the table, and kind of that blend is how we ended up with what the album sounds like.
It's pretty, dare I say, an organic process. Like in terms of Dear Sam, which Graham was talking about, I remember it was probably in like last May, potentially, and we were like outside in Ra's backyard, like having some like socially distanced beers, and then either Graham or Sandy like brought out a guitar, and we were just like laughing about how this is band practice now. And they played like this like very like kind of like twangy version of this more like driving rock song that we had done before. And we were like, oh, that's incredible, yeah, let's roll with that has to be it now. And so then that kind of totally changed our idea of that song. I also remember we were in the studio, me and Alex started doing drums and bass recording first, and because it was COVID, nobody else was able to be there, and so we took some liberties with a few of the tracks in our own ways, and really like added our own spice. And maybe somebody else can speak to what it was like to get into the studio the next week and hear it, but we kind of just built on each other, and it felt pretty natural.
Honestly, it was a delight.
Yeah, speaking directly to that, I distinctly remember we were laying down guitars for Artifacts, and I was hearing the drums and bass, and there's a couple moments where there's like a double punch right in the middle of the chorus, and that hit me for the first time. I was like, I have never heard these guys play this before.
Yeah.
And it blew me away. And that's sort of the vibe that we rolled with for the rest of the recording, was that taking that little moment and kind of expanding on that just in the moment. That yeah, that was really, really cool.
No, but I mean that was like kind of also in terms of the recording and I'm sure we'll have questions about that later, but like just to hear that sort of like that layer, that foundation in our music, because we're kind of, like Dan said, inorganic or unorthodox in the way that we've done things, right? We've played weddings before, we played like actual live shows and stuff like that. But to go into the studio and build that layer with the bass and the drums, and then for us to then go hear it, right? And then for me to hear the instrumental and then hear like a lot of the tracks, and then add my vocals, it was just so important, and it made things fall into place, especially because, you know, we decided, hey, let's record an album in September, and then got into contact with the studio. And in November we were recording and had to do it, you know, almost not rushed, but before kind of a pending second lockdown, right? And so it was like, okay, let's go here. And you know, it sounds a certain way in the garage, and trying to listen back on it, you know, with your iPhone recording, you know, your voice note or whatever. But until you get in there and can hear, you know, that those tracks laid, it's magical.
Well, and oftentimes too, like you'll have like, in an ideal situation, we'd have everybody there to like bounce ideas off of and listen back and give feedback. But because that wasn't the case, we were able to be a little bit cheeky and have some fun in our own little like mini bubbles that entered the studio. But I think it also kind of created interestingly textured end product as well.
Yeah, it's amazing to hear that you weren't all together to record it, because I mean everything obviously came together so well in the tracks. I would have never guessed that one part was kind of recorded at one time with very like little feedback from the rest of the band, and then they just kind of built on that. But it's funny that you guys brought up Dear Sam, because that was actually the song that really stuck out to me in the album. Anybody that knows me knows I love a good emotional power ballad. So that song has been one that I've been listening to a lot. It features beautiful vocals from Hannah Sloots as well. Is she someone that you knew from choir or other musical projects?
I went to school with Hannah at Laurier, and she had done the album art. She did these cool collages for a project in school, so we brought her in to do the album art for our first two singles.
Mm-hmm.
And then when Dan mentioned the idea, because I think it was your idea, Dan, to make that song a duet, because we'd sort of added this country flavor, and it sort of felt like a really interesting like difference that might happen in like a studio setting. She was the first person I thought of, because she has that like really nice voice that's really clear and really complements Roz. And obviously I'd never heard them sing together, but I just had this idea. I was like, I think she's the right voice for this song. And she was super into it, and she was able to come down when we were sort of more able to be mobile and practice with us. And it was really, she was really wonderful to work with and really positive, and it made the whole process really nice, and she did an amazing job. And like we were doing all these sort of staggered, so the vocals, Dan, Alex, and I weren't there, so I don't know what happened, but it turned out really good.
Nice. Yeah, this song, I find it's really powerful, and I mean it comes right in the middle of the album. I kind of feel like it's like the climax of this emotional journey that you're going on. Especially it has this beautiful folk intro, and then the bridge hits, and we get these like really strong 3-part harmonies just repeating this line that kind of stuck with me. It's, Dear Sam, I know that we don't speak anymore. I'm too young to close all these doors. I'm wondering how you came up with that line. I find it like really inspirational personally.
It's very much just a feel. It's hard to explain. There was a way back I think in 2016, because that song's been bumping around in our like repertoire for a long time, and it was a day when I think only Dan, Ron, and I could make practice, and we were practicing at the Garage, which is right by Sherwood Music, and it's like a great rehearsal space. And we basically, Dan was like, I want to write a song today, and I was like, I have a bunch of songs. And he's like, no, I want to write a new song. And I was like, okay. And Rob picked me up from class, because I think I was coming out of Laurier at the time. And basically I had like the car ride from Laurier to the Garage in downtown Kitchener to write enough lyrics. And that one just stuck out because I had seen someone I like knew that I hadn't talked to in a really long time. And that sort of like lyric came out of that experience, was like, we don't talk anymore. We used to talk all the time. And there was this sort of realization that it's like, that is a door that I could probably open right now, and I don't know if it's actually possible. And it feels like a weird moment, because I was like 20 or something, and I felt really young, but also like suddenly realizing that it's like, people leave your life. And it was sort of this like moment of sort of stunning realization that the whole song kind of came out of. And then when we were in the practice, we were able to like pair it with that riff, and it became this sort of like repeating thing. Because initially, I don't think it was supposed to be that sort of like repeated moment, but it sort of grew into that because it was just, we could feel that that like moment was kind of like special from us, or to us anyway.
Yeah. Oh, it certainly is as a listener as well. I love the way that it builds and gets that really epic guitar line going through it. It's really, really powerful. And then I would say perhaps my favorite part of the album when listening it so far is the transition after this song. You get the soaring vocals of Dear Sam, you get like a 2-second beat, and then it goes right into the opening guitar riff of the next song. It's in the same key. It has a similar sound. I'm going to nerd out a little bit on this.
Yeah.
And we get this like amazing upbeat, energetic feel. So it's like we've had our breakthrough. We've dealt with Dear Sam, and then we're moving on, picking up the energy, and it brings us into the title track of your album, Artifacts. So I saw you guys get excited when I mentioned the transition. I'm wondering, what was the intention about that? Was it always the intention, or when did that come about?
I think pretty much exactly what you said there. Because they were both in the same key, it was an easy transition. And we were debating, I know at one point, on how to start Artifacts. We had an ambient intro at one point. I think we finally landed on the jet kind of pickup to it. And then when we were kind of tweaking where we wanted all the songs to go on the album, and having those two songs back to back sort of made sense thematically, and then obviously also musically, because they're in the same key and you can just go, one right into the other. So then having that open space at the end of Dear Sam and then punching back in with Artifacts was definitely something we tried to accomplish. And I think we're really proud, all really proud of that moment.
Well, we also were super excited. Like, we were just as excited when we came up with it, when we were practicing, because we would just like, I think I might be wrong, but because they're in the same key, I think we played them back to back, and then we just like went through it, and it just happened, and we're like, oh my, that's it. Like, that's it. It's gonna go like that on the album.
Well, it's a super powerful moment. I love it a lot. It's an amazing transition, like right at the climax of the album. I love it. Okay, so I've geeked out about the songs that I like on this album. I'm really curious to hear what tracks stand out to you guys, whether it's like a banger that you're like, okay, everyone's gonna sing along to this one. This is gonna be, the big headbanger one from our album, or like one that's going to sneak up on people. It'll kind of become a slower fan favorite.
I'll name some. I'll name names. When My Memory Fades Away at the end, which is just an incredible song. It's my favorite. It's very emotional. It's very slow. There's some like really nice guitar riffs from everybody. But I think that one, because it's at the end of the album, I feel like it doesn't, and it's more low-key. I don't think it gets the love it deserves. I love that song. I think it rocks. That's my pick.
I'll jump in and actually echo what Dan said. Honestly, my favorite song on the album flip-flops on a day-to-day basis, or a week-to-week basis, or a listen-to-listen basis. But I think the ending of When My Memory Fades Away probably gets me the most of probably any other moments, just because it's got this layered feel where I'm pretty sure at one point there's 50 tracks happening at the same time. There's 10 vocal tracks, there's 8 guitar tracks, everything's doubled, everything's panned, and on top of that you have this this time signature change from your 7s to 9s to 7s to 9s to kind of create this flowing feeling across the whole outro, basically. And that that moment gets me every time.
Alex, I want to know if you feel the same way as me. Like, okay, so the end of Memories is really great. I also like the bridge of Without You, which also does funky time signature stuff. And I think that's partially because we had to figure it out and like actually nail it. And it feels like we've won something by like being able to play it now perfectly.
Yeah, a few of them, the timing has been I don't know, a little complex for me.
Funky?
A little funky. But we made it through. And the end result obviously is spectacular.
Nice.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think you guys know my favorite is Artifacts. I'm the bass player, and that's, I think, the strongest song I have for the bass. Also Sam. I think if you heard our original, the way we played Sam originally, I think it really shows our progression as a band from how it's played now.
Awesome. Oh, I want to hear that. I want to get the garage demo of that.
Yeah.
I can send you it.
Yeah.
I have like 40 copies of us attempting to get that song in a state.
For me, anything where we kind of have like those layered vocals and harmonies kind of really hits home for me, obviously, because I'm the singer. I like I like harmonies, and I like I like layered vocals. But like New Romantics, that one is awesome. It's just kind of like a driving song, and the harmonies on that one really hit, especially coming out of the bridge into the final chorus there. If you haven't listened to it on the radio in Kitchener, Kid LB, wherever you are in the world, make sure you listen to it. And also When My Memory Fades Away, that one, Graham and I were just doing, laying down harmonies, and it was just, again, me, him, and the two guys from the Canadian Daydream, Steph and Mitch, and we're going like, this needs kind of like a climactic ending, right? Like what are we gonna do? And I can't remember who had the idea of like, maybe we can just build a choir, like layer a choir. And so Graham and I just traded off, going, track layer by layer, track by track, and just kind of adding vocals, and the end result was just amazing. So yeah, New Romantics and When My Memory Fades Away, I think those for me stand out the most.
Sandy, what about you? You get the last pick.
It's hard. I think I have the same thing with Graham, where it like kind of changes day to day. I think for me, it might be New Romantics. I feel bad because like all the other songs I like a lot too. But I think there's something about New Romantics. It was like probably the song that we had the most trouble getting it right, I think, during practice. And like when we got in the studio, I think it finally like clicked. And I'd had like, when I brought it, because that was one of the ones like I brought to the band and said like, hey, I've got this song, here's a mediocre demo, let's try it. I think I had like an idea of what it was going to sound like in my head, and it came. And the fact that we like got it and it was kind of at the last minute and it just felt super right when I finally heard like the full thing was a really big moment of like, oh, I'm so happy that we got that moment. And as Ross said, the moment when it cuts out and it's just like the harmony vocals, like at the end of the bridge into the last chorus, that's one of my favorite moments in the album. But then also When My Memory Fades Away is also just wonderful. And I love, there's a really great moment at the end of that song when sort of we do the big and then we go into this sort of like quiet outro, and it's just acoustic guitar and a couple like sort of ambient lead things. And there's sort of this moment when you hear this sort of like harmonics and then sort of like a little melodic step down to like end the song. That wasn't planned. That was me and Graham both improvising separately different things that then sounded like one guitar kind of going down, and it was a really cool like in the studio moment that I always think of whenever I get to the end of that song. It's just like, we didn't mean to do that, and it just sounds so
Nice.
good.
Oh, isn't that the best feeling?
I don't know about you guys, but I love to listen to that. Like When My Memory Fades Away, I turn off all the lights in my room and I lay on the floor. This sounds super weird.
I love it.
And then it just like, I have like, my headphones in, and it's just, I close my eyes. I don't know. It's like just an escape or something. But
I'll take a bath. I'll light some candles. I'll play When My Memory Fades Away. I'll just make a nice, relaxing night. Yeah, exactly.
Honestly, you need to be able to enjoy your own music. So why not? Why not? Be proud of what you made. If it's a good song, it's a good song. So.
Exactly. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, when I listen to this album, I always picture myself ideally not in the bathtub,
Fair
but
enough.
in a super crowded audience, singing along, jumping around to these songs, like just having an emotional journey with a large crowd of people. Obviously we can't do that right now, but where are you guys super excited to play a live show at when things open back up again? In town or somewhere else? What do you think?
I think when we get to be able to play live music again, I think we really want to focus kind of in this KW area. I know we all grew up here. We've got a lot of history with a lot of these places, and just to be able to kind of share music with our area is, I know at least for me, is a pretty big thing. So to be able to play shows at local venues is definitely on the list.
It's hard because so many of them have shut down, and it's like, and for me, and this is obviously impossible, but I actually would really like to play at the old Maxwell's.
Oh, bless old Maxwell's.
Where it used to be years ago. Because we went to so many, like Ron and Dan and I went to so many shows there when we were in high school, and that's a place we'll obviously never be able to play, but like that's the one place where I'm like, man, if I had played anywhere in this town, I wish I'd played there.
I was thinking the Kitchener Farmers Market, actually. No, upstairs, just where the children's musician plays. We can set up and play some emotionally charged tunes up there or something. You buy your salami, you get your coffee, and there's Adult Recreation Center playing some tunes for you,
Yeah, that's some synergy. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Well, I'm so excited for when you guys are going to be able to play some awesome local shows. Can't wait to hear those songs live. So if folks want to hear your music online, where can they look you up and find it all?
They can find us on Spotify, Apple Music, anywhere that streams music, really. Bandcamp as well. I mean, shout out to Bandcamp. They have like their Bandcamp Fridays and stuff where the music, like the proceeds go more directly to the artists. But you can really stream us anywhere, and we'd appreciate it. And if you want to follow along, you can follow us at Adult Recreation Center on Instagram. That's where we post fun stuff and music that we're listening to and behind the scenes type stuff. So yeah.
In August, we are gonna have we're releasing a video of like a pre-recorded like live show to play our entire album once through. So look out for that, because that's gonna be super fun, and I'm really excited to be able to practice for that.
That'll be really cool. I mean, if we're speaking about wanting to hear it with a bunch of people, like you can this will at least give you the opportunity to jump around in your house and pretend like you're with a bunch of people and like crank up the volume.
Yeah. You could watch it outside on the back deck with a little socially distanced beverage or something.
Exactly. You're your circle of 10 people, and then put it up on the big screen. Yeah, exactly.
Yes, I approve of that. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for joining me today, guys. Thanks for letting me nerd out a little bit on dissecting your album with you. It was super great to chat with you and get to know you all better.
Yeah, thanks for having us on.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
I've been chatting with Adult Recreation Center, an indie rock band from right here in Kitchener. You can hear songs from their new album, Artifacts, in rotation here on Midtown Radio, or you can find it online. This has been Midtown Conversations. I'm Allison Dyjach, and have a great rest of your day.
So put on that sweater we got together. Smile to yourself. If it's been hard, I hope you're better, and that you've got your help. I know that you never knew. I knew everything that you wanted to do, and though I know that you never thought we would get caught up in our own lives, please wipe your